Do you know which is the worst industrial disaster? A disaster which has affected more than 500,000 population. A disaster in the heart of India. A disaster that happened 38 years ago. Hello everyone, my name is Manish and today I'm going to talk about world's worst industrial disaster, the Bhopal Gas Tragedy. Bhopal is the capital city of Madhya Pradesh state in India, which is popular for its lake and was founded by the 11th century Hindu king Raja Bhoj. You might remember him by the common Indian phrase, Kahan Raja Bhoj, Kahan Gangu Tele. Did you? Okay, let's get back to the track. Unfortunately, it is also popular for having world's worst industrial disaster ever in 1984. To understand what happened in Bhopal, let's dig a little bit about the city. In the middle of the 20th century, Bhopal has the population of 100,000 in 1954. By 2022, the population has grown up to 2.5 million people. In 1984, the city was home for 850,000 people. At the time, one of the biggest employers was the UCL, Union Carbide Limited, which was benefiting thousands of families, and a lot of business ecosystem has grew up around it. UCL, built in 1969, was a huge manufacturer of pesticides, which was a hot product back then, as the world and specifically India was going through green revolution to get rid of food insecurity. The pesticides were produced with a chemical called methyl isocyanate or MIC. Originally, it used to be manufactured in West Virginia, which is a state in the US, but to cut the cost, they have moved the plant to India. So the ingredients to make methyl isocyanate is a phosgene gas, which was used as a chemical weapon in World War I. So you need methylamine and phosgene to make methyl isocyanate, and methyl isocyanate is used to make the pesticides. After a couple of years since the plant started, there were a lot of difficulties coming around and a lot of shortcomings from the manufacturing point of view. In December 1981, the plant has started leaking and it has killed one person. And lately in 1 month, there was another leak which killed 25 people. But workers' death is never taken seriously, right? Why would a new plant would have leaks? Simple. Budget cuts and corporate negligence. This is evident from the fact that even after raising 61 violations, the company has made its SOP more lax and they have decreased the staffing for the safety department, and also the new recruits has been not trained enough for the safety. Similar plants in West Virginia and France used to have computerized system for the safety, but to cut the budget cost of $8 million, UCL has changed and got manual detection system, which required a person sitting there to check if it's safe or not at each valve. And also they have decreased the number of valves from 24 to 8. There were 3 underground tanks, each containing 60 metric ton of MIC. Tank 1 and tank 2 were enough. Tank 3 has started leaking, but the amount of MIC in tank 3 was more than half of it, which was the requirements. The SOP said it has to be half of the tank needs to be filled. That means it has to be 30 metric ton, but it was 42 metric ton that night. So what exactly happened in Bhopal is a clear evidence of corporate negligence along with no value of life for the third world population, which is evident that even after flagging 61 safety violation, the company did not act. The stage was set for disaster when the refrigeration unit went offline in June 1984. In October 1984, the scrubber went offline, which used to spray a neutralizing agent for any leakage. And in November, there was a third safety fail with a flare tower meant to burn off any chemical spill went offline for repairs, which was delayed. Never before the stage has been set for such a big disaster, and it happened on the night of December 2nd, exactly 38 years ago from today. Sometime between 8 to 9 p.m. when most of the nearby population was asleep, an order was issued to flush the pipes which used to lead phosgene into the MIC tank, and there was a safety valve which prevented water from entering into the MIC tank. But that night there was one valve missing and the water, instead of just flushing out, started accumulating inside the MIC tank, specifically in tank number 610, which the crew claims they didn't know about. and at this time the tank had 42 tons of MIC. Remember, I said the capacity was 50%, that means 30 metric tons, but it had 12 metric tons extra. Now water is going inside it, making an exothermic reaction, that means generating more heat inside the tank. The pressure went from 2 psi half an hour before to 10 psi. So there's an increase of 500% in just half an hour. Around 11:30 pm, workers start to smell a leak and activate the water curtain around the tank. Little did it help, as the pressure went up to 55 psi by midnight and the temperature exceeded 300 degrees Celsius, which led to the crack in the tank. And this was estimated based on the effect it had on the concrete. The sprayer for water curtain went up to 10 meters high. However, it was needed at the height of 30 meters. An alarm was raised at 12:30 am and everyone around the plant has smelled the gas. People started waking up because of it. People started dying. So it started with a burning sensation in their eyes, persistent cough in the chest, and they started suffocating in their sleep. By 1:15 am, police has arrived and tried to control the chaos. Between 2 and 2:30 am, the workers were able to find the leak and control or stop the leak. However, at this time, 40 to 45,000 kilograms of MIC was in the air of Bhopal and has surrounded 20 kilometers radius. By 3 am, army engineers arrived and started helping in the rescue process. By the time sun came, 12,000 people were already in the hospital. Within few hours, 55,000 people, and by next day, 170,000 people were in the hospital. Remember the number, 170,000. Can you imagine? The sheer number of victims in this tragedy has made numerology meaningless. As they say, a number 1,000 is misrepresented when it comes to death. But each of this death has a story behind it. Each of this death has a separate tragedy. Each of this death has left generations of malnutrition, generations of defects, generation of trauma. Also, it had it burnt on the healthcare providers when they encountered with these victims. A nurse has described that it felt like somebody has filled her body with red chilies. You can imagine how it would have been. The exact death toll as all the disaster is difficult to calculate. According to Union Carbide, 3,800 people died within the first few hours of the exposure. That, of course, does not include the uncountable number of animals and livestock. In fact, the area around has become dried. All the plants and trees died, making it a wasteland. Now, another estimate suggests that 8,000 people died in the first week, based on the fact that 7,000 funeral shrouds were sold in Bhopal in the week following the accident, and at least 1,000 bodies were unclaimed. But workers who dispose of the bodies says that the official number is incorrect. One truck driver stated that he would transport 120 bodies at once 5 times in a day, and there were 8 more truck drivers like that. So if you make a quick calculation, it would come around more than 15,000 bodies. So all the numbers are disputed here. Many of them were buried in mass graves, sometimes 5 to 6 in just one grave. The figures are mind-blowing. However, for the number of people died, at least a dozen or so per death were affected in different forms. The side effects included ocular, respiratory, reproductive, genetic, and neurobehavioral problems. I too had relatives who were victims of this tragedy. High infant mortality was found later in the women of Bhopal, along with physical and mental disabilities, cancer, and thyroid problems. And the issue is not limited to the gas leak. Due to faulty storage at the plant, mercury, lead, nickel, chromium, and several organic toxins were detected in the groundwater nearby. Pollutants continue to contaminate and enter groundwater, moving up the food chain. According to a 2019 study, There are places nearby the plant which are still not accessible. If you stay 10 minutes at those spots, you will start becoming unconscious. Later, UCL tried to claim a sabotage by one of the workers, which is still not verified and the case has not been ended yet. The CEO of Union Carbide, Warren Anderson, visited after 4 days, but he was taken to a house arrest but got bail and evaded the country. The Indian government tried many extradition requests but all failed and were meaningless, as the rich never gets accountable and justice is not being given to the poor worker laborers. To this date, efforts are being made to find those responsible for the Bhopal Gas Tragedy. In 1989, the Union Carbide Corporation was made to pay $470 million by the Indian Supreme Court, which averaged up to mere $800 per person. Can you imagine? They are calculating a life for just $800. If someone has lost their whole family, what would $800 mean to them? Think about it. Additionally, Dow Chemical has later acquired UCL and washed its hands on this tragedy and said they had nothing to do with it. You can buy a company, but why don't you buy its liabilities? That's how the deal should work, right? Even though the majority of the victims have been passed away now, still there are NGOs working in the area trying to bring justice to those who were deceased or those who were exposed. Thousands of people are still suffering from the biggest industrial disaster of the world, the Bhopal Gas Tragedy, which was the birth of corporate negligence, budget cuts, and no value of laborers' life from the third world population. Okay, if you have liked this video, please like and share. Also, if you have any comments, any thoughts about it, please share that. And also, like me, if you had someone as a victim, please put down in comment, and I have all my sympathies with you. Also, if you are here for the first time on my channel, please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon so that you can get instant notification of my videos. Thank you.